Exclamation, everybody, and welcome to a small, hopefully, channel update. This is out of sequence of normal channel updates because something has happened with the channel, and I want to be as transparent as possible. I like to be as transparent about the channel as I can, so you know what's going on. I've made a few tweets about this. But I wanted to put it here so that anyone who just visits casually can see what's going on and just be in the loop with things. The game in the background is Duke of Alpha Centauri. As of today, June 22nd, 2017, my channel received a copyright strike, which is different from Content ID. Content ID is far less severe than strikes. You get 3 strikes and your channel is 3 strikes within a 3-month period. Your channel is basically done at that point. You're terminated. Thankfully, YouTube recently has revised their policies around copyright, where strikes are maybe not as severe as they used to be. I remember people saying with just one copyright strike that they were limited to 15-minute videos and other things in the past. Thankfully, I'm looking at my status page right now. Thankfully, it looks like all the features that I need out of YouTube, longer videos, live streaming, all that stuff, appear to still be intact. I haven't tried scheduling. Scheduling is another big deal for me because I work full time, so being able to schedule videos in the morning and then go to work and then have them go up while I'm at work is quite important to me. It's not a be all and do all. I can work around it a little bit, but I'm hoping that hasn't been affected. I don't know. At the moment, I haven't uploaded anything yet since doing this. This will be the first video I've uploaded since this has come down. The copyright strike came down, I'd say around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon while I was in work. I happened to have my email open and I saw it come in. In fact, I can actually tell you when I got the email here. Let me just look at that real fast. I got the email at 2:19, so it must have been around 2 o'clock, 2:15 Eastern time when I received this notification about this. I am not the only one. The copyright strike was for Starr DSP. It was an early access game that I did a side quest video on back in 2016. It's been out there since September of 2016. A lot of other people who are reporting the same thing are in a similar situation where they did videos of the game very early ago, like last year. You know, it's been out for a while, and all of a sudden we've gotten these strikes on our channel, DMCA takedown of our videos. They've been removed by Alex Maurer. From what I understand, this person worked on the music for the game. Now, I from this point on, my information is pretty sketchy, so take it all with a grain of salt. This is things that I've gathered from just from other people I've talked to on Twitter, as well as the forums on Steam. If you go looking for Starr DSP on Steam, you'll find that it's not there. They apparently have gotten a DMCA takedown as well from the same person, I assume. So it's not even available in the store right now. I have contacted, I have sent a tweet anyway to the Twitter account, the Starr Twitter account, just let them know that stuff is going down here. I don't know if they are in radio silence or what, based on what's going on. I assume there's probably some lawyering going on in the background somewhere, and so there's radio silence around this whole thing. But we were all sort of blindsided by this particular thing here. what I understand is that from based on, again, this is all innuendo and not confirmed. Based on what I've seen in the Steam forums, this Alex Maurer worked on the music for the game, had some sort of falling out, or some lines, T's were not crossed and I's dotted on some agreements, and was not paid for their work, or perhaps was paid for their work. Who knows at this point, and has issued these DMCA takedowns. It's my understanding as well that this had started to take place a while ago, and that the developers of Starr Mazer DSP had been in the process of removing that audio, that music from their game, and trying to get back into compliance. It appears that it had come up again on the store as being available, and then was immediately taken down again. So there's something going on in that camp that I'm not fully aware of what's happening there. From my perspective here, now, I was contacted on Twitter by others, asking me my thoughts on this and what's happening and all that stuff. I feel like very much so that this is mommy and daddy fighting, and the neighbors are being dragged into it unwittingly. That's the best analogy I can come up with here. I don't have a particular horse in this race. I did back Starr Mazer on Kickstarter, so I do want to see a game actually be produced. I don't want it to necessarily be bogged down in something like this. I also want to see that everyone gets the compensation that they're supposed to get for it. I feel like the DMCA takedown was unnecessary for YouTube in particular. It's necessary, I would imagine, for other platforms, Tumblr and maybe Twitter, or not Twitter, Twitch, or other things like that, because there is no other remedy that you can do over there. But for YouTube, there's a remedy, quite a few different variations of a remedy, and it's Content ID. And this is one of those cases where I would have much preferred that this video had just been Content ID'd rather than copyright striked. And I think a lot of others would agree with me on that. In that case, there's Content ID has so many different levels to it. You could have, if this Alex Maurer had just said, "I want all of the monetization on your video," I would have said, "Go ahead. You did the music. You're entitled to it. Have fun. Have at it." Now, for me, that's not a big deal because I do this as a hobby. I don't make any money at all off of this. In fact, if you look at Starr Mazer in particular, I'm in the hole because I backed their Kickstarter. I literally have made no money off of this at all. So there's been situations in the past. I'm thinking of like Out There and Out There Omega Edition, where months and months after I've put videos up of those games, I've had Content ID hits come down where the monetization was taken away by the musician behind the music who did the music for the game. And I'm totally fine with that. I've never disputed that or anything. I've let them have whatever fractions of a cent they're going to get off of it because they did the music for it and that's what they wanted. So good on them. The only time I ever really get upset over a Content ID thing is when it's fake. I've only had 3 instances thus far in the years that I've had the channel running where I've been really pissed off by Content ID. The first one was with Geek and Sundry claiming video Content ID, like image Content ID, on the credits sequence of Dungeons and Dragons Shadows over Miss Starr, which is a video that I had put up and then had that hit it, and then I took the video down and I didn't fight it because it's not my, I don't have no way of fighting it. I mean, you can try and fight it, but honestly, they're the bigger YouTuber, they're going to win. B, it was it wasn't merely something that I could just mitigate by removing that footage from the game, because it was a credit sequence, and I don't believe in putting up video if I can't put the credits of the people who actually made the video game in the video itself. So that was kind of a principle thing. The second time was with some Destiny early beta videos I did of Destiny. That was around the cutscenes. There was some YouTube channel called Brothers and Sisters or something like that was claiming everybody's cutscene footage of that game. I didn't fight that because it just wasn't worth it, and honestly, they went through and fixed it on their own. Like, it went away after a few days and so I just kind of dropped it. And the only other time was with the guys that run VidCon. I forget their name now. Their channel. They had claimed the entire footage of some freely available demo game that I played. That clearly wasn't theirs, but you know, I don't participate in VidCon, so they can go scratch it. But it's those are the only real instances when I've had that problem. Vlog Brothers, that's the name of their channel. So given that, you know, there's two different things that could have gone down here. One is they could have, you know, this person could have claimed all the monetization on it, and I would have been fine with it. The second thing they could have done is they could have just said, no, we're going to block it worldwide from being viewed, which has happened to me in the past with, which is why there's no Star Trek Voyager Elite Force videos on my channel, because as soon as I put one up, CBS claimed it and blocked it worldwide. So I said, well, okay, I'll just delete it and I'll go live stream it, because they don't know about live streaming yet. And, you know, that's another avenue that could have been taken, and it would have given me an opportunity to go rectify it. I think the big thing here is that we were all sort of blindsided by this, is that, you know, there was no option for us to make this better. You know, if the case was, hey, they weren't compensated for this and they want all instances of this removed, then sure, I'm behind that. I would have most definitely, if they had contacted me, I most definitely would have deleted it as soon as I could. I had no qualms about doing that, and I think others have expressed the same sentiment, as that going about it in, given those other paths that could have been taken, this copyright, you know, using the DMCA on YouTube was akin, in my mind, to doing a scorched earth thing. So people who would have otherwise been on your side and otherwise been sympathetic to your cause and otherwise would have gladly taken the video down in deference to what has happened or what has caused you to fall out with you know, the devs on Starr, now you've lost all of that. You've frustrated people, you've angered a few people. Sure, even with the Content ID thing, some of the larger channels probably would have still fought it, or some of the more naive YouTubers out there would have been angry over it and made angry videos about it. I'm not angry. I'm more disappointed in a sort of father disappointed in his child coming home with a tattoo kind of disappointment. Again, all the analogies I can come up with here, more than anything else. I'm not particularly angry. If the copyright strike had done more damage to the channel, I would have just focused more on streaming. As it is right now, it seems like I can kind of continue forward business as usual. This does bring up a question about, and this is the big question on my mind now, is what do I do going forward with side quest videos? So for those of you aware of my channel, there's two types of videos that I have on there. There's the side quests series, which is a series that I produce mostly for the devs of these indie or other early access games, or they don't have to be necessarily early access, but they're, you know, I tend to look at early games and and just try to give feedback to the devs. And that's really, SideQuest videos is really for the devs. It's me playing your game, trying to give you whatever feedback I can muster, both good and negative. Although the negative feedback, I try to be, I try to be civil. I'm not one of those, I'm going to scream at the top of my lungs and generally be a, bouncing off the walls and angry and faux anger and all that stuff. That's not me. I don't subscribe to that newsletter. But there's also Let's Plays series on my channel, and that's really, the Let's Plays are for me. They're my, hey, I'm lonely and I kind of want to play a video game. I kind of want to enjoy a video game with somebody else, even if that somebody else is virtual and I never know them. That's really the way my channel shapes up. So what do I do with SideQuest videos? Do I stop doing them? Do I focus on AAA games instead of indie games? Do I continue to cover indie games and just wait for them to be fully released and hope that they're vetted out by that point? What's the deal? And it's kind of it's something that's been rolling around in my brain, because honestly, this is not something that I think is isolated to Starr Mazer. One of the risks you run at making videos of games that are this early in development is that a lot of their assets are not locked down yet. They might be using assets that are placeholders. They might be using music that's placeholders. Things that they haven't fully vetted out the legalities around, let's put it that way, and or don't have agreements in place for yet, or, as the case may be, haven't paid the people that they needed to pay for those things. And that could come back to bite you in the keister later on, because of those kinds of that kind of variability. And I've been rolling around in my brain, what do I do? Do I go back to all my old SideQuest videos and delete them after a certain time period? Is it a keep them up for 6 months and then delete them kind of thing, except that they're the release versions? Like if I do an early access or a pre-alpha or a demo game, do I just keep it up there for 6 months and then delete it and then try to mitigate this risk that I run that someone will come by months and years later and say, I have a tiff with this other person and now you're going to pay for it, kind of thing? Do I restrict it to just release things, which kind of defeats the purpose of SideQuest videos, because at that point I can give feedback, but the game is released, so it may not be that useful at that point. The feedback tends to be, the feedback early is, I would think, more useful than feedback after the game is released. I mean, sure, any feedback is welcome, but if you have a fundamental engine problem, you're more likely to solve that in a pre-alpha stage than you are after it's been released. If I encounter something like that, or if I have suggestions around it. So those are all things I've floated in my brain. There's always the option of just sticking to AAA things, but honestly, there are much larger YouTubers out there who are basically living in the development studios, who are getting jet-setted around by developers and wined and dined, and can get exclusives and jumps on things that I will never ever have an option at doing. And I honestly really did want to focus a lot on indies, because I feel like they don't always get the kind of attention that they need. You can't find a diamond in the rough if nobody's looking through the rough. And another variable to consider when talking about deleting videos and whatnot is the Google factor. And I have a good example of this. I played as a side quest video. I played Cosmic Star Heroine, and my side quest video on that game was back in September of 2016. So right around the time when when my Cosmic Star or Star Mazer video went out, and it was for the beta of Cosmic Star Heroine, not the full release. That video, as of today, has 3,034 views, 24 upvotes, 4 downvotes, and 21 comments. Now, you fast forward in my timeline when I did an actual Let's Play of that game. I did 18 videos in a Let's Play, and this is the released game. And if I look at the views, it goes 82, 28, 20, 15, 15, 9, 7, 5, 5, 3, 7, 6, 4, 5, 4, 3, 6, and then 8 for the last one. So the video that I did a year ago, and those episodes of Cosmic Star Heroine happened on April the 12th of this year, right? The video I did of the beta was September of last year. The video that I did of the beta from last year, old footage, has done orders of magnitude more in terms of views and whatnot, and bringing people to the channel. And that's the Google factor, right? I happened to release that video at a time when people were actually searching for more information on the game, and they came upon, Google offered up this video for them to look at, and they did in droves. And because of that, Google continued to say, oh, well, whenever someone searches for this game, this one was relevant, so a lot of people click through to this so that must be relevant to that search term, so I'm going to keep offering that up and offering it up and offering it up, right? This video continues to get views even today, even though, again, it's a year out of date, and I played through the entire actual released version of the game. That's the other factor, right? Like if I start, these are what bigger YouTubers would call the lasso that brings people in, right? All the big YouTubers at some point have some video or some video series that brought tons of people in, or several for that matter. And that's how you organically grow a channel. And that's one of the reasons why, I don't play Minecraft anymore, but I don't delete any of my Minecraft videos, right? It's like, you might as well just leave that fishing rod out there, because hey, it might bring somebody in who likes your personality or likes your chillness, and maybe they don't care so much for Minecraft, but they like some of the other videos you're doing. All these sort of things that bringing people into the channel. If I had gone and said, all right, 6 months after releasing a side quest video, now the full released game is out and I have videos on that, I'll delete the side quest video. Well, basically I'm at that point saying, all right, let me hide my channel again from everybody, right? So it's kind of a weird situation to be in. It kind of hurts you in the long term if you start really cleaning out stuff, or maybe it doesn't. It really depends on how things are going. So a lot of different variables come into play when it comes to trying to figure out the best way of doing things, especially on a platform like YouTube. One of the things that a lot of people will bring up about this is fair use. In this particular case, for my particular case, there's no real fair use argument to be had there. My side quest videos, though they are meant for the dev and they're meant to be really consumed for them, if somebody watches them and says, hey, I like that game, I might want to buy it, then that's great. But that's not really my focus. One of the big tests for it to be fair use is, did you use just enough of the source material to get your point across? And that's where it gets a little bit shady as far as my side quest videos goes, because honestly, I don't know what that means in terms of trying to play a game to give devs feedback, right? Because yeah, sure, I could cut up the video into multiple, segments, 15 seconds of video of gameplay here, 15 seconds of gameplay there, and kind of paste them all together. But if I encounter bugs and stuff, that's not very helpful, right, to a dev. When you encounter a bug, and this is just from a one Java developer to others, when you encounter a bug, you need context. The context is what makes it a solvable problem, right? If I know how to reproduce the bug that you've seen, then I can be confident that A, I've fixed it, and B, I've fixed it completely, right? Because now I can reproduce it at will, and I know that these fixes now no longer allow it to happen. And since I never know when you're going to encounter a bug in a game, you kind of have to keep it relatively intact. I mean, not necessarily zero cuts, but you would cut out things like loading screens and stuff, things that are immaterial to what's going on. But you can't really cut out the gameplay per se, because that's really the context of what's going on, right? You know, if a dev can look at one of my videos and go and see a bug and go, oh, I can now reproduce that, I know exactly what's going on there, that's a success. If I cut around it and I say, like, here's the bug and here's what happens, but I only give you like 15 seconds of video, that may not be enough context. So it's not really an easy thing to weigh as far as the goals of the videos are concerned. And also the secondary thing of, if there is a consumer who is looking at this, who wants to say, like, if this is a kind of game that they would like, you know, some people like certain parts, some people like grinding, some people don't like a grindy game, some people are okay with certain types of grindy games, you know. And so if you don't show them the grind, they can't make an informed decision. Or in the case of like an RPG, a lot of RPGs are very slow burners, and you need at least an hour or so of footage just to get introduced to the world and get introduced to the mechanics and kind of see how it all fits together and what they're going for, before you'd be like, oh, actually, this looks like this is very interesting. This is you kind of end on a cliffhanger a little bit, and it's like, this is something that I want to see more of, and I should probably go buy it. That kind of thing. So it's not as clear cut from the perspective of those types of videos. So it's you know, I don't have a fair use leg necessarily to stand on with that. It's still a very gray thing, and it's not something I particularly want to even push, honestly. So all that said, my feeling on it is that, yes, it sucks. It doesn't hurt me as much as it's going to hurt other YouTubers. Since I don't have any skin in the game, I don't have any money that is dependent on it. I have a full-time job, so I don't have to worry about this YouTube channel paying any bills or anything like that. So I can kind of sit back and just kind of wait it out and see what happens. There are others who are not in that kind of position. So I feel for them. I hope that they make it through this okay. I realize that there's a lot of frustration around this, and I encourage everyone who is frustrated by it, talk about it, but don't be overly dramatic about it. Don't get too riled up. You know, make good arguments, make cogent thoughts on it. You know, don't get riled up in the, here's just another example of abuse and stuff. No, it's just, something's going on here that we don't have all the information about, and it's probably a sucky situation for the person who threw these DMCAs out there, in as much as it is a sucky situation for everybody else. So I'm not hating anybody. I'm not angry. I'm disappointed, especially given that there's so many other options that this person could have done. But at the same time, all I can really do, especially as a small YouTuber, is just shrug my shoulders and go, I guess I just got to keep on trucking. So thanks so much for listening to this, my friends. and I'll see you in the next video.